Alrighty, you're all so excited about seeing a Chapter 3 that you upvoted Chapter 2. It has more than Chapter 1. That is a little ridiculous. Hopefully you are as free-flowing with your thumbs up this round as you were with the previous one. Just a quick note, if I do a Chapter 4, it will be on Monday. I've been trying to be good and take weekends off. I just want to give a quick thanks to the Tier 5 channel members and patrons. Bob the Dragon, Data Magnet, Sergeant Puma, Cat Crab Lobster, and Duck Machine. Thank you very much for the support. It is much appreciated. This is Human Weaponry, Chapter 3, called Demonstration. Garrick looked at Thomas. From what I can tell of the human emotion, he looked like he was contemplating something. He faced me, now with a rifle held pointed down. I have no problems with you trying some of these, but I think we should start with a handgun first. They have less recoil. Normally, I would have scoffed at the idea that I would have any trouble with a hand weapon. However, having seen and felt the power of just one human firearm, I wasn't so sure. I was excited to try, but I also became plagued by visions of recoil breaking my arms. Sergeant Garrick moved over to what looked like lockers for storage. This was the first quiet moment I had, so I took the time to examine the military dress. He seemed to be wearing a uniform designed for combat. He was wearing a light undersuit with soft patterns of different shades of green and brown. He looked to be wearing black, heavy boots. By far the most interesting part of his dress is the plate armor. They are numerous. 2 plates on each leg, moving halfway up. The plates connected to the boots with a joint halfway up the knee. The largest plate, or set of plates, is on the chest piece. It covers his chest and back, with a few intersecting plates, most likely for flexibility. There are plates for each shoulder, which are made up into 2 pieces connected by a joint so that the arm can move up and down. 2 small plates rested on the human's arm joints, which makes sense. Joints are famously fragile. Finally, the human has 2 metal sleeves on his forearms, which connect to a small plate covering the back of the hand. The human also had black fabric covering over his manipulators, or hands. There looked to be a hard material covering many moving parts of his fingers. He is wearing something around his waist that is connected together with a clasp at the front. Multiple items were connected to it. A holster for his sidearm, some large pack on the back, and many pouches on the front which looked to be the right size to hold the magazines that they mentioned. These same pouches exist on the front of the chest plate. So much ammunition storage. I assumed that in combat he would also be wearing a full face cover helmet that I saw. But now he was wearing some sort of hard fabric article on top of his head. You can start with one of the 9mm handguns. If you have no problems with this, then we can move up to the larger ones. That sounds like a good idea. I'd prefer to not seriously injure myself, just trying to satiate my own curiosity. As he rummaged through the locker, I looked at the other human, who was now writing something down on a rectangle electronic device about the size of his forearm. This individual is obviously not military. He's wearing a long white overcoat. In fact, the majority of his clothing is white, besides the light blue pants. They just seemed like something a civilian would wear. I'd been so mesmerized by the weapons that I hadn't noticed how every piece of clothing the humans were wearing seemed to have a function. He has some kind of glass piece in a frame covering his eyes. I think I'll ask him about it. Mr. Thomas? He, a little startled, looked up from his device. Yes, Ozus? What are you wearing over your eyes? Oh, you mean my glasses? Yes, the 2 lenses you're looking through. They correct my vision. Humans often are born with a relatively good vision, but many of us are born with various conditions that limit that vision. I myself have one called hyperopia, which means I can clearly see things far away, but not so well the things are close up. These lenses fix my vision, so I'm able to read. Confusing. They had clearly very advanced technology, but they restored it to a simple, fragile glass to fix it. I must take a mental note that vision problems are common amongst the humans. My own species has what I can only assume is much better vision. Are there any other ways that you can treat the vision conditions? Oh yes, many. Glasses are just the easiest way, and I think they're comfortable. Additionally, many people wear them as supplement fashion. The second most common way is called contacts, which are lenses like those on my glasses, except much smaller. They are pressed directly into the eye. Lastly, there's something called laser eye surgery, which involves a laser directly manipulating the shape of the corona in order to correct whatever mutation caused the bad eyesight. You have a laser go directly into your eye? The one that is powerful enough to manipulate it. How is that a good idea? How could that possibly help anything? Look, Osis, I'm not a medical doctor. I cannot explain exactly how it works. If you like, we could have one of the ship's medical staff come and talk to you. After saying that, Thomas went back to writing something down on his piece of tech. Garrick had appeared to find what he was looking for and walked back to me. He had what was clearly a firearm in his hand, but smaller than the others. In his other hand, he had a magazine. Okay, so I'll explain how to use it. Firstly, the safety rules. Rule 1. Garrick paused as he looked at my hands. They were different from his. I only had 3 manipulators, and 5 of mine were longer. Always keep your finger off the trigger until you are ready to shoot. Do not aim the weapon at anything that you are not willing to destroy. Always treat the weapon as if it is loaded. Be aware of your target and what is behind it. Treat the weapon with respect. It is more than capable of getting anyone here. I'm fascinated. All of these rules were clearly premeditated. No doubt the same as what he had been told the first time he used a firearm. Now, how to use it. First you take the magazine and insert it into the bottom here. Then, what you do is you pull back on the slide, which is the top section of the pistol. This puts a round in the chamber. Once this happens, it is ready to shoot. You do not need to pull the slide back for the subsequent shots, as the energy released by expanding gases of the firing pushes the slide back and loads another round. In order to shoot, you flip the safety switch here, then you aim and pull the trigger. Do you understand? Yes, it all makes sense. How do I aim? He held the weapon up and pointed at the 3 raised pieces, 2 at the back, 1 at the front. You line up these 3 dots in your sights so that what you are trying to hit is in the middle. Rifles are easier to aim, but you can try them when we know that they won't hurt you. He handed me the weapon. It was lighter than I expected. We walked over towards the target range. I did as I was told, although slightly awkward. It was clearly not made for my biology. I was able to load it and pull back the slide, which was more difficult than I expected, and brought it up to shoot. Hold on. Try leaning forward. You want to be in the same position you would be in if you were preparing to be pushed by something. I braced myself, held up the weapon, tried to aim at the target, and pulled the trigger. I didn't fall over. My arms didn't break, but gods, this thing kicked. I also missed the target, but I'm not too concerned. The chemical propellant burned my eyes and nose. It hurt my wrist joints, and it was awkward for me to use. And I loved it. So exhilarating, it felt like you were actually throwing the projectile. Plasma weapons had no recoil. I had never experienced anything like it. I looked over at Garrick, who had his teeth bared, although I had learned that this was how humans communicated. They were happy. I wanted him to know how much I enjoyed it, so I attempted to replicate the smile. He laughed. Enjoyed that, huh? Very much so. It's incredibly satisfying to shoot. You can keep going if you'd like. It has 9 rounds left. I want to try that one. I gestured to the rifle on the table. Garrick smiled. All right. I'd recommend you keep to the semi-auto when you try it. Full auto causes more recoil. What's, full auto? End of chapter. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope